Well, hello, and welcome to basically our first ever discussion on vanity. Yes,
Oh man, it's a big topic.
big topic. So big,
It's a
in
heavy
fact,
one.
that it may be broken up into a couple parts, you guys, because it's going to lead into a huge amount of areas that most of us maybe had never considered being linked to this gigantic idol in so many of our lives, which is vanity. And it's something that not only permeates women, but also men. And so men, you're not going to get a safe pass on this one. Women, not so much.
Definitely not.
Because there's one truth that is inescapable for every single one of us, and that is that vanity is something that has been being used to sift us. That's a sifter. If you guys don't know what I love,
and
props.
don't sift out the wheat and the germ, or the bran and the germ.
Check
don't
out
you sift that out now.
Becoming a Millenite. If you haven't seen that, you won't know what we're talking about. But wheat was made to be whole, as in all of it, not just flour. But
Don't do any sifting of your flour.
no sifting. But the Father says in Isaiah 30 that he has sifted the nations with the sift of vanity. Vanity is something that has permeated every facet and arena of our lives. And Chelsea and I want to come on here and mostly Chelsea share her testimony of being drawn out of that system and how the Father has brought her into looking at him through a different kind of eyes. Would you be so kind as to share with folks how the Father brought to your attention and understanding vanity?
Yes, I will try to talk about this. Oh, it's been a while, and it's been a long journey. It's been a long coming out of this. My journey to no longer wearing makeup. I used to wear a lot of makeup, and some of you might be like, "What?" I find that shocking. I thought Chelsea never wore makeup, but I definitely wore makeup, guys, and I used to wear a lot of it. I wasn't always that way. Honestly, like growing up and as a kid, I don't know, I never really cared about my appearance too much. I just would wear clothes that I liked, and my hair was always really long, and I had these straight bangs going across the front, and I played soccer and was just a wild kid, loved being outside, loved jumping on the trampoline, and then as I grew older, just was always really content with my appearance and confident, and never felt I guess insecure or the need to wear makeup or do anything to alter my appearance. That all changed. That did change in my life, and I want to say it probably started to change. You could really see the change probably like when I was a sophomore. Was it sophomore? No, it was junior year. The transition from sophomore to junior year. Something happened in there, and you can see it in my school ID, even from sophomore year to junior year. Like, it's totally like it's unrecognizable. Junior or sophomore year, I didn't wear any makeup and was confident in that and was fine with that. And then, then junior year, I started dyeing my hair, all kinds of colors, hot pinks, purples, blues, reds, like all kinds of colors. And I started wearing a lot of makeup. And I think the moment that really started to shift in my brain was when I started to, my sister and I are 2 years apart, and I have one younger sister, 2 years younger, and that's it. That's my only sibling. And we both lived in our upstairs bedrooms, and then we shared a common bathroom. So that's where we would get ready in the morning. We would share this common bathroom. And my sister was always one who would She started wearing makeup pretty young. She was always just, I feel like, doing things like 10 steps ahead of me, and I was the older one. She even got married before me. She had kids before me. She's just always been the one who's kind of done things a little bit sooner than I have. But yeah, wearing makeup was one of them. And I remember it was one day we were in the bathroom and she had suggested that I start plucking my eyebrows or something like that. Like, because I had some hairs, some wild hairs. And if I just plucked them, that it would look a little more groomed and it would look nicer. And I was like, oh, I do have hair there. Like, I never even realized that, So that's kind of where it started. And then it was little by little, it would be like, oh, she might just say like, oh, Chelsea, like if you just wore a little mascara, like it would really like look good. Your eyelashes are so long already, like it'd look really nice. And, and I think too, my sister always had, she always had boyfriends. She always had, the boys were always interested in my sister and less interested in me. And I think I started to negatively associate that with my appearance. Like, oh, it's something with my appearance. Like, it's if they could just get to know me, then maybe they might be interested in dating me or something like that. But there's something in my appearance that's a roadblock or a stumbling block from them wanting to get to know me and know who I am and know my heart. And this is where it started to shift in a negative way. So I started wearing makeup. It started out, I think, with just mascara, actually. This is really interesting. It started off with mascara. And it just started off with a little brush and a little bit, well, the tweezing of the eyebrows first, and then just a little mascara. And little by little, makeup has this funny and subtle way of, you'll use a little bit, and then you'll use a little bit more, and then you'll do a little bit of this, and then you'll put some foundation on, because all of a sudden, you're kind of realizing your complexion isn't as clear as you want it to be. And then you realize if you put a little lip liner on, it can really accentuate your lips, and then some nice lip gloss. And then, oh, your eyebrows, you could fill them in a little bit because you have some spacing here in the front, and if you filled them in and made them a little darker, they would stand out. And if you do some eyeliner, anyway, it goes like that with makeup. And it literally slowly, little by little, started to permeate my appearance. And it became so noticeable, I think, at one point. I remember one of my boyfriends, when he was taking me on a date to a movie theater, he had mentioned that he could see my makeup line. Like, and that I had an actual line of definition here of what's it called? Concealer. So you could literally see a different tone of my skin up here where I had put the concealer on to conceal. That's the name of it.
Wow.
To conceal what? To hide something that you don't like about yourself. And it's this line, and then it was my normal skin color down here, so it was a lot more tan and darker up here. And I remember we were on the way to the movie, and he had made a comment about how he's like, did you change your makeup, or did you get a new makeup or something? And I was like, yeah, why? And he's like, well, I can kind of see a line, like you actually have a line right here. And I was humiliated. That he could notice that I had a mask on and that I was concealing my true identity, my true appearance. And I was ashamed. I was insecure. And I remember feeling so like frustrated and angry. And anyway, I just completely shut down in that moment, to where he was like, I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have said anything, whatever. And I made him turn around the car and drive me home. Like, it was that bad. Like, I was just completely shutting down in my shame and my insecurity. And anyway, you would have thought that right then and there I would have stopped wearing makeup, but no, like, it just kept perpetuating itself. When I was camping one time, my boyfriend was camping and a bunch of our friends. And I remember getting up early. You know, you kind of get up when you're camping anyway because you didn't sleep really good and the sun is coming up and it just shines through the tent and it wakes you up. So early mornings are common with camping anyway. But I remember getting up really early, like as soon as I woke up, and going out, sneaking out of the tent, going out to my car and putting on some makeup before everyone would wake up, especially my boyfriend, so that nobody would be able to see me without my mask on my face. So anyway, as you can tell, this was never how I was. This was never who Yahuwah made me to be, but it became my identity slowly, little by little. It just became, I guess, almost an addiction, almost a, just something that I was doing, and I felt like the more that I was enhancing myself, the more that I was enhancing my appearance, the better I was looking, and the more I was liking how I looked, and the more comfortable I was feeling with the makeup on rather than it off. So that kind of sets up kind of this, I guess, makeup predicament that I was in. So I wore makeup, like I said, starting maybe in between the sophomore and junior year, and then continued wearing it. I mean, I wore makeup when you met me, right, Nate?
Yeah.
And just continued wearing it. I remember, even getting to the point where I was wearing fake eyelashes. And I used to have people tell me, like, oh, Chelsea, you have really long, beautiful eyelashes. Like, why do you even wear fake eyelashes? And I was like, well, they're long and beautiful, but they'll be more beautiful if I wear these long eyelashes. Like makeup's subtle and seductive that way. You're like, if I just do a little bit more, if I just do this, if I just enhance this, if I just wear a little eyeliner this way, more is better. And with makeup, you feel like, a little is great, more is better. And you can get to this place where you have this completely fake face. Almost. It's a completely different appearance. Like, if you guys have ever looked at movie stars, like how they look in the movies or the magazines, and then they'll have a picture of them without makeup on, and they're almost unrecognizable. Like, they almost don't even look like the same humans. Like, that is how altering makeup can be. And so anyway, Nathan and I were married, and even after we were married, I was still wearing lots of makeup. Like, Nathan and I would go to the gym and work out, and I would wear makeup to the gym, because my body's looking really good as I'm lifting all these weights. I want my face to look good too. I'm not going to not wear makeup. And so I'd wear makeup even to the gym. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, or at least a little bit. Like, because if you wear too much makeup, you'll sweat it all off, and then everyone will see that your, mask is running down your face. So don't wear too much that it's noticeable, but you could still wear some, at the very least, mascara, okay? It got to the point where it was so bad, you guys. I went swimming one time, and this might have been in high school. I'm sure this was in high school. So many problems and insecurities come from high school. Unfortunately, peer pressure in public school systems. I'm just going to say that right now. It's terrible. It's terrible. That peer pressure is terrible, and it's horrible, and it's infectious, and it does not bear good fruit. But anyway, I was subjected to that, and in high school, and I'm sure I went to and maybe it was even in college too. I'm not sure when the exact moment was, but I know this happened to me several times. But when I went to either a pool party or I went to Water World, and I just wore my makeup, not too much, but just mascara, right? And then I went swimming or got splashed with water or something. And then eventually, if you're not wearing waterproof mascara, your mascara will run down and it will stick right on the bottom of your eyes. I'm going to post a little picture of like what this looks like. It looks scary. It looks downright scary, you guys. And people are, it's like if somebody has something stuck in their teeth and nobody around you has the courage enough to tell you that you have something stuck in your teeth and you need to pick it out because it just doesn't look so great.
Bugs in the grill.
Yeah, bugs in the grill. It's like that. So with the mascara, if you get it wet or you went swimming or something, you'd get mascara under your eyes and it looks downright scary. And people would not have the boldness or the courage or the respect for you enough to tell you that you look crazy. You look crazy and you look really scary. Your mask is, you've been demasked and your mask is drooping. You need to go wipe that off. So anyway, I would get home after having the great pool party or whatever, or go in the bathroom and then I would see that and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been walking around with scary mask on, not my good mask, my scary mask on. And nobody had the decency to tell me. And that felt humiliating. That felt like shame. That felt all these insecurities bubbling back up, right? And you would still think like, okay, well, if the mascara is causing the insecurity, wouldn't you stop the mascara? No, your identity is built up in the mascara. It's in the makeup. It's in your face. It's in how you look with it on. That's what your identity is built up in. So when it's giving you problems, you figure out a way, a workaround, right? And so my workaround was wearing waterproof mascara. So then I started wearing waterproof mascara pretty exclusively, and waterproof eyeliner, and waterproof lip liner, waterproof whatever, because I didn't want to have that problem anymore. I remember going to church, you guys, with my waterproof mascara on, so that if I got a little teary-eyed during worship, I wouldn't have the scary eyes coming down, the scary face. So that people wouldn't be able to see that my mask was running down my face. Okay. This is even at church. And I remember too, even there were times that if I knew I wasn't, cause I had both. I had waterproof mascara and not waterproof mascara. And if I happened to know and be hyper aware of myself that I was not wearing my waterproof mascara at the time or my waterproof eyeliner at the time, I would stifle my emotions. So if something came up, somebody was talking about something, it was churning my spirit, it was making me emotional, I was wanting to just cry with somebody, weep with those who weep. I wasn't able to do that because I was aware that I wasn't wearing waterproof mascara. If I wasn't wearing my waterproof mascara, don't you dare shed a tear, Chelsea. Like, don't you dare shed a tear. And I would quench that spirit. I would quench the Holy Spirit. Like I would just hold it in, even if it was during worship. And I'm one of those people who I just weep. I weep during worship. Like I just do. I feel the Lord and I just weep. And, but not, I do now, but not then. And if I was aware that I wasn't wearing the waterproof mascara, I would hold that in, and I would literally like pull back even during worship. Like I could feel I would pull back myself from worshiping our Father in heaven. I would pull back to not cry, to not have my face look like that. These roots go so deep, you guys. And it's bondage. It's bondage. This vanity, these roots of vanity go deep, and it's bondage. So then I'm going to take you to when Yah started working on me about this. Nathan and I were married, and we started coming into following the commandments and realizing that the whole Bible is valuable and that the whole Bible is so beautiful, and there is so much value in history and our Hebraic heritage in the Old Testament that we don't even know about. We are not even in touch with. And we started to come into the realization that, like, these things were not done away with in the New Testament. Yeshua never came to do away with the law. He never came to do away with his Father's instructions, and that they're still important for our lives, and they're there to protect us. They're there because he cares for us and he loves us so much. They're there to help guide us. So anyway, we started to come into realizing the importance of following his instructions, all of them, okay? And we started regarding the Shabbat, the fourth commandment, keeping the Sabbath holy. And we started doing the Sabbath on Saturday and just observing the Sabbath. And we would just do worship, and we would just home church style, you guys. Like, we had kind of pulled out of the church at this point, and we were just home church in it. We would worship and just, oh my gosh, the Bible would come alive during the Torah portion. The Torah portion, all it is that you're reading a portion of the Torah, which is the first 5 books of the Bible, then you're reading a section of the prophets, and then you're reading a section of the New Testament. So it helps you to be able to read through the Bible in a year, basically. So this is what we would do every Saturday. We're reading different portions of the Bible so that we could read it in a year, and the Bible just was coming alive, and Yah started really convicting us about all kinds of different things in our lives. That
season of the lens being held right over your whole life.
Yeah, it was just different things, one thing after another, and this kind of continued, and during this time, I was, actually, when did we start keeping the Shabbat? I'm trying to think. It was when I was pregnant. It was when I was pregnant with Naomi.
Yeah.
And after I had Naomi, which I know a lot of you moms will know this, but after you have a baby, it's like it changes your whole world. I mean, it changes everything. It changes your body, your physical body. It changes you emotionally, and I even feel like it changes you spiritually. It changes it changes who you are. It really does. And it's a refinement process that goes on to be able to bring a little human into the world, and to also nurture that little new life, and to lay down your life to be able to nurture them. It's a giving up of yourself, and discovering who you really are. And that's kind of who you really are, and the kind of mom that you want to be to this little one, because now it's not just about you. It's not just about you being selfish and about your agenda. It's about this little life. And how are you including this little life into yours? And how are you adapting your life to help this little one thrive and survive? So anyway.
There's a great verse for that in 1 Timothy 2:15, which says, women shall be sanctified or saved through childbearing, assuming they continue to live in faith, love, holiness, and modesty, or self-control. Wow. It's a transformation process.
Yeah.
As your body physically was transformed, you started considering these things about the transformation that was happening for you and the impression it was going to leave on your daughter for the first time. And it started us having conversations that up until that time we had never had.
Yeah, it really did. And after we had Naomi, it was starting to think about things differently, and to look at things differently, and to reevaluate why we do some of the things we do, and how do we want to curb our behavior? How do we want to change things so that she grows up knowing the right thing to do and not the wrong thing to do? And being a new mom too, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're weary because you're breastfeeding, you're having late nights, you're up all night with the baby, you can't do caffeine because you're breastfeeding, and it's just this constant demand and taxation on you. And part of that process was that I wasn't wearing makeup. I was home. I was staying at home with my baby, so I wasn't wearing makeup. I wasn't even doing my hair. I wasn't worrying about any of that, because I was just focused on worrying about this baby and caring about this baby. Like, she was my whole new world now. And so I was less worried about myself and caring for myself. And so I just was caring for her. And anyway, I would not wear makeup, but then, I think Naomi was 1 month old, and we took her to a wedding. We went to a wedding. And so it's like, doll yourself up, like put on your makeup, put on your best, look nice, like dress up, go to this wedding. And I remember that was down in Colorado Springs. And it was one of the most exhausting weddings we ever went to, because driving that far and then going to a wedding with a 1 month old. Oh, it was exhausting. But anyway, it was like, put on your face, like look nice, look like everything's normal. Oh, put on some stuff so that nobody can see the big giant bags under your eyes, because you haven't slept very well for a very long time.
In a month.
Yeah, at all. But it's like, oh, put that cover up on, like, make yourself look not so tired, because heaven forbid you look tired like you really are.
You just gave birth to a human. What did you do last month?
No, you need to look amazing, right? Because that's what the world tells you. You need to look amazing. You need to bounce back. You need to have your body back. Like, heaven forbid you have that baby body and that baby belly pooch for so long. Like, so anyway, this is just the world, right? The world that we live in, and the peer pressure that is, even after high school, even after college, it's the peer pressures of the world, right? And how are we reacting to those peer pressures? Like, how are we reacting? How are we responding? It's literally fear of men. Okay? You're afraid of men. You're afraid of what they're going to think. And that's that peer pressure. So then, anyway, little by little, like I said, I'm wearing less and less makeup at this point. But every so often I'm having to put it on, or I just happen to be like, I feel so tired and I don't, like I've been so in this groggy state, like I'm just going to put some makeup on. I'm just going to look fresh. I just need to feel beautiful. Yeah. I just need to feel beautiful, like my old self, my pre-baby self. Okay. And I just need to feel beautiful. And I found that in makeup. I found that feeling of feeling beautiful in my mask, in these things that I would put on my face. So I was wearing less and less makeup. However, I think this was a divine intervention. Okay? I'm just going to put that out there. I think Yahuwah was up to something. I would very seldom wear makeup now at this point. However, when I would wear it, I was wearing the waterproof eyeliner and the waterproof mascara. And this became my daily thing, because I'm just like, I'm not going to worry ever about my mask running down my face, because I never know what the day is going to throw at me. I don't know if there's going to be a rainstorm. I don't know if I'm going to break a sweat. I don't know what's going to happen, or if I'm going to shed a tear. But I don't know what's going to happen, but I do know one thing, and that I can be certain of, that my mask is not going to run down my face, and I'm not going to feel ashamed that I'm wearing a mask. That preventative measure, like I talked about. So I was wearing that waterproof eyeliner, waterproof mascara, and I mean, even if I was going out of the house to the grocery store or something, I might not wear makeup, but then a lot of times I just would. Or like I said, to feel beautiful, to feel just normal. Like that was my normal. So to feel normal and to feel confident, if I was having a particularly low confidence day or feeling very insecure, I would feel that security by putting on my mask. So Yah's divine intervention for me though, I started, even though it would be seldom, when I would put on my eyeliner and my mascara, the waterproof stuff, it all of a sudden started out of nowhere causing me severe allergies, severe skin eruptions around my eyes. I would get this redness, this crustiness, almost like an eczema, you guys, where I would put the eyeliner and it was so itchy. It was so itchy, and I would just be itching my eye constantly, and then I stopped wearing it, and it would just be this eczema I would be dealing with for like a week after wearing makeup one time. And it kept doing this, and you would have thought that would have been enough to make me stop, but no, it wasn't, because we're stubborn people, right? Anyway, that was making me just be like, wow, this is kind of crazy. I'm allergic to makeup. And I remember started to research like, okay, organic makeup. Okay, I'm going to look for non-toxic makeup, because obviously there's a lot of chemicals in makeup. Let's talk about that too. Putting chemicals and all of these toxins on your skin every single day, you guys. Oh my gosh, no wonder my skin was breaking out. I'm clogging my pores. No wonder I'm getting a blemish here and a blemish there and a, whatever. I have wrinkles and bags under my eyes or whatever else, like, or eczema around my eye from the waterproofing chemicals. Craziness, you guys. So anyway, I'm going through all of this, and I remember scrolling back on my phone, like looking back through pictures and just seeing how much Naomi has changed even in a month or even in 2 months. I remember going back through the pictures, and a lot of them I had no makeup in, and then I would get to a picture with like me with makeup, and I would be like, whoa, like, who is this? Like, who? Like, I had this weird thing happen where I started to feel like that girl was a foreign person. Like, that's foreign to me, because I'm seeing so much of my naked face now at this point in front of the mirror constantly. I'm starting to get more comfortable with who I am, and I'm starting to get more comfortable in my own skin at this point, and realizing like, wow, that does look kind of artificial, doesn't it? It looks kind of fake. That kind of doesn't look like me. That's kind of weird. And I just was like, and that kind of just stuck with me. And then we kept doing Shabbats, and Yah just kept working on my heart little by little. And I started really feeling convicted, like I needed to give up the makeup. And I remember coming across, I think it was Patricia Hall's from Now You See TV, her testimony that she briefly shared. I think we were watching it on a Shabbat, and she had briefly shared about, because she doesn't wear makeup, and she had briefly shared about her testimony of why she no longer wears makeup anymore, and that makeup was a really big stronghold in her life as well. And so she shares this, and I was like, wow, like I felt really pricked by her testimony, and felt like, wow, like maybe Yah's calling me to give up the makeup. Like maybe, and it's making me allergic already. Like I'm already allergic to it. So maybe I'll just be able to kind of walk away from this. Like maybe I can get away from this. And I ended up going on YouTube. I kind of just wanted some more encouragement from other women who were in the faith and decided to walk away from this, because everyone I know wears makeup. Everyone I know wears makeup at this point, okay? So me not wearing makeup, that's going to be a little weird. It's going to be a little weird. So I was like, okay, I need some encouragement. So I was watching these videos. This one gal, she kind of just walked me through her testimony, and it was a really powerful testimony, and she just shared about how little by little, Yah started convicting her about different aspects of her makeup. So she gave up the mascara first, then the eyeliner, and so it was this progressive thing. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I wonder why it had to be this progression and it couldn't have just been this instant thing, I thought that was interesting. The second testimony I watched was actually a model. She was a Christian, but she was a model. And she started, one day she was walking by a mirror, and she turned to look at it, and it just all of a sudden Yah convicted her that she had the stronghold of vanity in her life. And I mean, her whole life was about vanity. It was modeling, right? It was modeling. It was based off of her appearance, which was an alteration of the real her. It was makeup, it was clothes, it was poses, it was angles, it was Photoshop, it was all a facade.
Perception.
Yeah, it was all a facade. And she said that what was the most convicting was when she walked by that mirror. And she said she would walk by this mirror every day, and she would instinctually turn and look at the mirror, like to check herself out, to make sure that her appearance was good. And if something was off, if her bangs weren't right, or if her makeup was smudged, or if her whatever, she had something in her tail, like, do you know what I mean? Every time she would walk by this mirror, she'd have to look at it. And that hit me, guys, because I had several mirrors in my house, One being in the kitchen, which is kind of a weird place to have a mirror, but it was in the kitchen. Probably, I had mirrors around to bounce the light around and whatever. But anyway, every time I would walk by that mirror, I started realizing I was doing the same thing. And I didn't even realize it. I didn't realize how much I was looking at myself on a daily basis, looking at myself, fixing myself, primping myself. That is the definition of vanity, you guys. Like, that is the definition of vanity. Like, seriously, where you're just literally like, how more vain does it get by looking at a mirror? And then primping and fixing and changing yourself based on what you're seeing. It was striking. So anyway, she shared that testimony and I'm like, oh my gosh, I do that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm convinced now, like, this is probably what I need to do. And I think I kept watching a few more maybe YouTube testimonials because I was on a roll now. I'm like, I want to get fired up. I'm already fired up, but I got to get a little more fired up. And I'm going to find some more testimonials. And I kind of was hoping that, like, y'all would give me this, like, big sign, like this flashing sign that was like, okay, Chelsea, give up the makeup once and for all. And it was funny because during one of the YouTube videos, a commercial comes up. Not even kidding, you guys. It was a mascara commercial. And it was techno music. It was the most seductive. Like, it was all these women. They were dressed seductively. They were dancing provocatively. It was like the art of seduction. And in the end of it, it was like this mascara, this like sexy mascara that they were selling. And you're like, this was a mascara commercial? What are they selling here? This is crazy. And I was like, whoa, that was super convicting. And then I'm not joking you, another commercial came on for mascara. Like, what are the odds?
There's your sign.
Another mascara commercial came up, and it was like this ball. It was like a grand ball, and everyone's all dressed up, and it was a masquerade. And this girl has her mask on, and then she lowers it, and she's still wearing a mask. I was like, oh my gosh. So I was like, okay, yeah. I was like, how am I going to do this? Like, I was like, this is like an addiction. Like, I was in deep, you guys. Like, I told you guys, I was at this point, I'm wearing cover up, bronzer, eyeliner, mascara, fake eyelashes at times. I was penciling in my eyebrows. I was using lip liner and a lip gloss. So that's what I was. Oh, and an under eye concealer, not to mention moisturizer and all the other things that you do, the masks and the whatever else. Okay, I can't just grab out my makeup bag. You guys, was enormous. My makeup bag. It was quite extensive. Like I said, you had the waterproof and the not waterproof. And even though these things were like causing me allergies and eczema on my eyes, I did not throw them out.
It's the woman's EDC kit.
And then I found some with a different formula, like that. Oh, it's a little more organic. It's, it doesn't have all the harsh chemicals or whatever. I'm not even kidding you guys. It still did the same thing to my eyes. Like, I was like, no more. No more. And so I gave up the mascara and the eyeliner. That was where I started. I felt very convicted about the mascara and the eyeliner. And actually, the thing that really pushed it over the edge was I just, after I saw the commercials, I'm like, okay, God wants me to give this up. This is really convincing. And I'm like, what does the Bible have to say about makeup?
Good question.
Can we read some scripture about makeup in the Bible? So I'm looking these up and I'm like, okay, let's find some scriptures. So the first one that actually came to mind was a passage in Enoch. You want to read that one?
Real quick. First Enoch.
Yes.
Is a text that used to be considered scripture for many, many generations. However, it's moderately controversial to some humans out there. Don't worry. We're not afraid of controversy at all. The Reynolds tribe or the Lindenite tribe or the Millenite tribe. Don't worry. So, First Enoch, though, gives us some insight as to where the practice of makeup began. Because as you can tell, one of the most important things that Chelsea asked in that entire narrative was, what are the origins of this? Why do I do this, right? Why is it that she first of all felt the pressure to put that on? That's a good question that each and every one of you needs to answer. Why do we do what we do? Because if you aren't willing to observe, which is not just looking, like looking is one thing, observing is different. Observing is considering and pondering and chewing on what it is that you happen to be seeing or noticing. And when you suddenly start to notice the way of the world in contrast to the way of the scriptures, your eyes are actually opened. But before that, there's scales that are put over our eyes, very strategic scales. And that came through the woman. The woman, real quick, before we go to the angels, which is further on in the story, deceiving mankind, we need to start with the dragon's first deception. And it started by targeting the eyes of the woman. And it's foundational. That the roots and the origins of where these strongholds are built out of, we're looking at the fruit. Chelsea's talking about the fruit of a strongholds, a tree that was planted, a different kind of tree that was planted in the garden. That the woman was deceived and seduced and enticed to taste of. And because of that, my wife here, thousands of years later, is dealing with contending against those same fruits growing up in her life instead of the fruits of righteousness that she should be bearing forth. So now Genesis 3, now the serpent or the dragon was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, has Elohim said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim has said, You shall not eat it, neither shall ye touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said to the woman, You shall not surely die, for Elohim knows that in the day you eat of it, then your eyes shall be open. You shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit and ate, and gave also unto her husband, or man, and he ate. And the eyes of both of them were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And so they sewed fig leaves together like a mask, and made themselves apron. The root of this is coming out of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which the woman beheld, she gazed upon, and was enticed. Now, for a clear distinction, it says in James chapter 1 that the Father never entices us. The Father never entices us, but it is only our desires that will entice us. James chapter 1, Blessed is the man that endures temptation, for when he is tested, he shall receive the crown of life, which Yahuwah has promised to them that love him. Let no man say when he is tempted that I am tempted of Elohim, for Elohim cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempts he any man. But every man is tempted when he's drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust has conceived, it brings forth sin, and sin, when it's finished, brings forth death. Do not err, my beloved brethren, for every good gift and perfect gift is from above and comes down from the Father of lights, with whom there is no darkness nor shadow of turning. For of his own will he begat us with the word of truth, that we should be of a kind of first fruits for his creatures. Therefore let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man works not the righteousness of Elohim. So lay apart all filthiness and abundance of wickedness, and receive with meekness the engrafted word which is able to save your souls. But be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any man hears the word and is not a doer, he's like a man who beheld his face in a mirror. For when he beholds himself, he goes his way and forgets the man he was. But whosoever looks into the perfect Torah of liberty and continues therein shall not be a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work. This man shall be blessed in his deed.
Wow.
The roots that we need to deal with here are planted there in the garden. But then these watchers that came down from heaven in Genesis 6 tells us this narrative of what led up to the flood. Why the Father literally had to wipe the face of the earth and wash it with water, because it had been defiled, made into a different image. It had been transfigured. And this is what mirrors will do. If you notice, when you look at a mirror, you see the inverse. If you hold up your right hand, you'd see the left hand. You see the opposite side being presented. If you write words normally this way, when you hold it up to a mirror, they're backwards. The mirror transforms things. It takes what is reality and changes it into an inverse thing. It is a forced duality, so that you see something differently than as it truly is, because a mirror cannot totally show you the truth. It will show you an image that is not absolute truth. Truth is established by as it's been written. Truth is not established by what the mirror shows you. However, the mirror has its foundations, and it tells us in 1 Enoch where the mirrors came from. Azazel, chapter 8 of 1 Enoch says, Azazel, this is one of the watchers, the angels that descended down and mingled with women and launched the destruction of injecting angels' DNA into mankind, but they also revealed the secrets that should have been kept from mankind to mankind. Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, breastplates, the fabrication of mirrors, the workmanship of bracelets and ornaments, the use of paint for the beautifying of the eyes, stones of every valuable, select kinds, all sorts of dye, so that the world became altered. Fornication multiplied. They transgressed and corrupted all their ways. Makeup, the beautification of the eyes, and mirrors come from a transformer. In the New Testament, we hear this phrase, marvel not that the devil transforms himself as to an angel of light, and his servants, his apostles, do likewise. That word there is metaskizmazotoi, transformer. They're the transformers, these angels that can come down and transform themselves to look like what you want them to be. This is the characteristic of an angel of light, who at his true character and nature is a beast, is a dragon. Sorry, the beast, they're distinct. He's a dragon in his true form, and yet he presents himself to the world by shifting who he is, by being a chameleon, by presenting the world a mask. He and the angels that were conformed to that image, the Father says, be not conformed to the pattern of this world, but rather be transformed to the renewing of your mind. Different word for transformation there. These transformers have seduced men by transforming them to look like something they're not currently. And men were guilty of this just as much as the women are, because there's a reason they market for us to dye our beards or cut our hair into a certain fashion sense, or make sure that we shave off our faces every single day,
or
that we dye your hair, or that, men, you have to wear a hat because you're going bald, right? Because that's something I have seen in so many men, that you wear hats to hide your head. And the reality is the Father knows every hair upon your head. And we talk about these things like we believe them, but when we go to actually walk them out, we find ourselves in stumbling blocks. Or running into the stumbling block, because once again, you guys, we are running into the sift of vanity. Like, Chelsea and I love treasure hunting, you guys. Notice that beautiful collection of fighting conch shells of every size and configuration. We love it. And you cannot treasure hunt without sifting. You have to sift.
Well, don't worry, it rained. They turned off the sluice because the lightning's not so good for the skin. But you know what's always good for the skin? Water and electricity. There's a natural river now flowing under my hands, which is going to put a giant stone in my hands.
What?
Like that. Look at that. Look at that.
Oh!
No!
I see it!
because you have to separate the things that are undesirable and basically worthless, like sand. All those seashells were hidden in sand and amongst other worthless broken pieces of shells.
From
And
the precious. You're looking for the precious.
Because we wanted to
things.
set them apart.
Mm.
And the Father says he uses the sift of vanity to do that. And you, each and every one of you who's watching this, who's looking at his scripture like it's precious and valuable, must then allow him to sift out of you the vanity that has gotten in you. Chelsea had to have that sifting process take place. It had a lot of conversations, her and I, over those years. And I could push so far with her. And then I'd hit this wall of shame and guilt and bondage that had been placed on her, self-induced, but also induced by these same gods, these same spiritual fruits that had been bearing forth through generations. We could not contend against that. And so the Father began to prick Chelsea's spirit. He began to cut into her because the word is living and active, and it will cut into your soul and your spirit. It will discern your thoughts and your intentions. That is what Hebrews tells us that it is. And it started to do that in her, and it started to dive into her soul and separate out her emotions, her soul, her mind, her will, her emotions, her intellect, the desires of her soul. And it began to pull those apart and sift them and shake them. And you know what the water does that's distinctly different? Husbands, we are commanded in Ephesians chapter 5 that we are to wash our wives with the water of the word. And the most powerful and amazing thing is that the Father's laid out this recipe for us to purify and sanctify our wives, just like Adam should have done in the garden. If Adam had washed his wife in the garden, if he had contended with the dragon, as we see Yeshua did when Yeshua was tempted by the same dragon, he contended and fought against him with the water of the word, with the sword that came out of his mouth. We see Adam silent through that narrative. He didn't fight. He didn't wash his wife clean from that. But you know what? Because he did not do that, this stuff entered the world. The woman was given a burden and a curse that she had to carry out. But the way that the woman would surrender it, when you read when you read in the Exodus, when Moses got these instructions for how to build the tabernacle, where the Spirit of the living Elohim would come down and meet with people to change the story, to authorize deliverance, to authorize restoration, forgiveness of sins, remission of sins, purification, sanctification, renewal of covenants. He's made a special place for that in the wilderness. And you would go through this big white linen fence in past this big brazen altar where you would have a barbecue and you'd sacrifice animal, because without the shedding of blood, there could be no remissions of sins. But then the next thing that you got to in this place was called the laver of mirrors. And you're like, what's a laver of mirrors? It's a literal big giant copper fountain or basin where the priest would go wash the blood off their hands, where you would be washed of your sins, where this water would wash over you and cleanse you. And the same word in Greek, when you read that in Ephesians, for husbands to wash your wives with the water of the word, is laver. The women made the laver. They offer in Exodus 30, let's see here real quick. Exodus 38:8, the women came and gave up their mirrors, their copper mirrors that they had from Egypt. And I'll show you a picture of what those mirrors looked like. They took their mirrors, they melted them down, and they made a vessel, a laver, to hold the water that their husbands, the great high priest, could pour into them to wash them. But women, if you would not surrender your mirrors of vanity, your mirrors of misery, which is the word Mitzrayim, Egypt, those traditions of this worldly system, if you will not melt down those mirrors on your own voluntary things, your husbands can never wash you thoroughly with the word. I could never wash Chelsea all the way with the word. I would hit these areas that she would not allow. And you know what? That became a hindrance and a stumbling block to our relationship and to her relationship with her Heavenly Father. But if you will surrender that, and when the part of the testimony we're now going to, when you hear that shift that happened in her, you will see the transformation in her as well. I can see it in her pictures. Anybody who knew Chelsea as that 13, 14, 15, 18, 20-year-old, 27-year-old woman, to see who she is now is unrecognizable, because she's no longer transformed into the image of those other Elohim. She has now surrendered her identity and has been sanctified through childbearing because it started that process for her.
Praise Yeshua. Yeah, so I mean, there was definitely, I was digging through the word and reading these different verses. The other one that got me was the one about Jezebel in 2 Kings 9:30 through 31.
And so it says here, and when Jehu was come to Israel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her eyes, tied up her head, and looked out a window. And Jehu entered at the gate and said, had Zimri peace, who slew his Adonai? And he lifted up his face to the window and said, who is on my side? And there looked out to him 2 or 3 eunuchs, and he said, throw Jezebel down. So they threw her down, and some of her blood was sprinkled on the wall and the horses, and they trode her underfoot. This is the very woman, by the way, for a quick backstory. Jezebel is an incredibly important character because it's a spirit. It's not just a character in the scriptures. You're going to see perpetually from Genesis to Revelation the contrast of the righteous woman, the righteous bride, and this whore. That's what she is. The whore of Babel, the whore of Babylon, Jezebel. She has a look and an appeal of righteousness, but it is a masquerade. Like it is said that Jezebel, she was the queen of Israel, married a man named Ahab, thank you. Married a man named Ahab, and she had a house of ivory, literally like a palace of ivory, like a white house, beautiful white place. And yet she usurped her husband's authority, signed documents in his name to have righteous men of Israel murdered. Okay, she would look as though she was a righteous woman, and yet the fruit of her was death. This is who, the great story of Elijah going down in Mount Carmel and the showdown with the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Ashtaroth, like huge showdowns. This woman vexed Israel horribly. She persecuted them relentlessly, but she seduced them. And here you see that she was someone who painted her eyes. And when you look into the scripture and you start to hunt down masquerading, mascara, this is what you find. You find they lead you to a whore because they're deceivers by their nature.
And then, so when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, she literally put on her mascara before she fell to her death. I was like, okay, that was pretty powerful. Enough said with that. Like, I get it. Loud and clear. Yeah. Then I read a bunch of other verses, and I don't know if you want to go through them, but you can.
Dive in. Come on. Let's swing the sword.
All right, let's see. Let's do Proverbs 30.
Let's do it. Proverbs 30.
30. Oh. I just have 30.
It's a big chapter.
Yeah, I don't think it's all 30.
Hold on.
Okay, I don't know.
2 things have I required of you. Deny me not before I die. Remove far from me vanity and lies. Give me neither poverty nor riches. Feed me with the food convenient for me, lest I be full and deny you, and say, who is Yahuwah? Or lest I be poor and steal, and take the name of my Elohim in vain. What's the next one?
And then Proverbs 6, 24 through 6.
To guard you for the command. Oh, yeah. Check this, man. My son, I just read this, by the way, recently. In my Mighty Maccabees video. Feel free to check that out. Shameless plug. Mighty Maccabees 2. My son, guard your father's commandment, and forsake not the Torah of your mother. Bind them continually upon your heart, and tie them about your neck. When you go, it shall lead you. When you sleep, it shall guard you. And when you awake, it shall talk with you. For the commandment is a lamp, and the Torah is light, and the reproofs of instruction are the way of life. To guard you from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman. Lust not after her beauty in your heart, neither let her take you with her eyes. For by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to nothing but a piece of bread. nights.
Whoa.
And the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. Can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burned? Can one go upon hot coals and his feet not be burned? So he that goes into his neighbor's woman, whoever touches her shall not be innocent. Men do not despise a thief if he steal to satisfy his soul when he is hungry, but if he is found, he shall restore sevenfold. He shall give all the substance of his house. But so whosoever breaks wedlock with a woman lacks understanding. He that does it destroys his own soul. A wound and dishonor shall he get, and his reproach shall be wiped away. For jealousy is the rage of a man, thence he will not spare in the day of vengeance. He will not regard any ransom, neither will he rest content, though you give him many gifts.
Wow.
And guys, we have an inordinate amount of verses that we could go into.
There's so
But
many.
we're trying to give you guys a snapshot, because you know what you need to go do, though, is treasure hunt for yourself in his
Go look 'em
scriptures.
up.
And we challenge you to go and compare and contrast the two camps. There's a version of the bride who makes herself ready
Yep.
for her bridegroom to come to her. And then there's this other woman who covers up her reality, who transforms herself.
The
And
harlot. The
the
adulteress.
they are inescapable. Revelations 18 and 19. They're inescapable, and they will both receive their just rewards. Ezekiel 16 is one of these prophetic expressions of explaining the contrast between the two women. Okay? And when I passed by you and saw you polluted in your own blood, I said unto you, when you are in your blood, live. I said unto you who were in your blood, live. I have caused you to multiply as the bud of the field, and have increased and grown great, and you are come to an excellent ornaments. Your breasts are fashioned, your hair is grown, and though you were naked and barren, but now when I passed by you and looked upon you, behold, your time was the time of love, and I spread my skirt over you and covered your nakedness. I swore unto you and entered into a covenant with you, says Adonai Yahuwah, and you became mine. Then washed I you with water. I thoroughly washed away your blood from you, and I anointed you with oil. I clothed you also with broidered work and shod you with antelope skin, and I girded you about with fine linen, and I covered you with silk. I decked you also with ornaments.
There's
there is silk in the
guys.
scriptures. We've had a big, long discussion a lot about silk lately. We're always hunting natural fibers. Check out Becoming a Linen Man. Random thing. Hold on.
Okay, back.
I closed you. I decked you also with ornaments and put bracelets on your hands and a chain on your neck. And I put a jewel on your forehead and earrings in your ears and a beautiful crown upon your head. Thus you were decked with gold and silver, and your raiment was of fine linen and silk and embroidered work. You ate fine flour, honey, and oil, and you were exceedingly beautiful, and you prospered into a kingdom.
Wow.
And your renown went forth among the heathen for your beauty, for it was perfect through my comeliness,
That's right.
which I had put upon you, says Yahuwah Adonai. But, very important, you trusted in your own beauty and played the whore because of your renown, and poured out at your fornication on everyone that passed by. His it was. And your garments you did take, and decked your high places with diverse colors, and played the harlot thereon. And the like thing shall not come, neither shall it be so, for you have taken your fair jewels of my gold and of my silver, which I gave you, and you made to yourself images of men and committed whoredom with them. You took your embroidered garments and covered them, and you have set my oil and my incense before them. My meat also which I gave you, the fine flour, the oil, the honey, where I fed you, you have even set it before them for a sweet savor. Thus it was, says Adonai Yahuwah, you have taken your sons and your daughters whom you have borne unto me, and these you have sacrificed unto them to be devoured. Is this of your whoredom a small matter, that you have slain my children and delivered them to cause them to pass through the fires for them? And in all your abominations and your whoredoms, you have not remembered at the days of your youth, when you were naked and bare and polluted in your blood. And it came to pass, after all your wickedness, woe, woe unto you, says Adonai Yahuwah, that you have also built an eminent place, that you have made a high place in every street. You have built your high place at the head of every way, and have made at your beauty to be abhorred, and have opened up your legs to everyone that passed by, and multiplied your whoredoms. You committed fornication with the Mitzrayim, your neighbors, great of flesh, and increased your whoredom to provoke me to anger. Therefore I stretched out my hand over you, and diminished your food, and I delivered you unto the will of them that hate you, the daughters of the Philistines, who were ashamed of your lewd way. You played the whore with the Asherim, because you were unsatiable, and you played the harlot with them and could not be satisfied. You have multiplied your fornication in the Canaanites. How weak is your heart, says Adonai, seeing all these things, the work of imperish horsewomen, in that you build your place in the head of every way, and make your highway in the streets. But as a woman that breaks wedlock, and takes strangers instead of her man, they give gifts to the whores, but you gave your gifts to all your lovers. And the contrary is in you from the other woman in your whoredoms, whereas none of them follows you to commit whoredoms, in that they give you a reward, for no reward is given to you. This is the stench, the odor that we have when we're walking in vanity. When we are walking in vanity, we will sacrifice our children to the sake of our beauty, scheduling a C-section so that we can have our bodies preserved. Go look up the statistics for how many scheduled C-sections take place in this country and in places like Brazil, where the majority of human beings are scheduled, where their bodies are maintained so that they can preserve their youthful figure. Other accounts of these watcher angels show that they taught women how to make potions so they could drink a drink and no longer conceive children. You've sacrificed your children through the morning after pill, through preventative measures, through family planning, and from blocking your ability to conceive. Men, you've strangled off your ability to conceive children. You've surgically transformed yourself through vasectomies. Women, you've had your tubes tied. You've surgically altered yourselves, not through beautification, but to prevent your bodies from bearing forth children. Because you know what? Children are a sacrifice. And you know who can only bear up a child in their body? It's the woman. My wife literally sacrifices her life to these children. You're going to give away the best years of your life to them. And you know what you will get as a reward? Life that can beget more life. Naomi and Jubilee can continue to bear more fruit. Without them, we would be dust. And you know what? But we would be vainly beautiful for a season. But that season doesn't have to stay that way. The Father intends for us, men and women, to be fruitful and to multiply. That is our first commandment for a married couple, for a family. Because if we disobey in that, we cannot walk in the identity as his children, Hebrews, as the Israelites, as his bride that comes together to get regrafted into him, to walk with him, to bear forth his name and his image on this earth. We want to be a bride who's made herself ready for her king to come back for her, because he's going to judge the whore and the whole world will watch her burn and suffer the plagues. But then her bride, his bride, will receive the garments of fine linen because she's washed herself and made herself ready. Then her bridegroom will come for her and he will join himself back to us.
Wow. So after reading those verses and reading that word, like I definitely knew I needed to give it up. So I began with the mascara and the eyeliner. And little by little, I started to give other things up. But it was a slow process, you guys. It was very difficult. And even though I was starting to get more and more comfortable with my own face and my own skin in the mirror at home, it was still very, very difficult when I would go out. especially to an event or to people I hadn't seen in a while. And they, I didn't want them to see me all tired. And like I said, the bags under my eyes and all of these, it really revealed just how insecure I had become, because my identity was in the wrong thing. My identity was all wrapped up in the makeup, and I had lost sight of whose image I am created in. So we went to another wedding, and by this time, like I said, Yeshua started really changing my heart, and as I was working through this, building up my confidence in him and who he created me to be, and in how he created me externally, and being confident in who I was, because I am created in the image of Elohim. So I went to this wedding. I go into the bathroom, and the bathroom, what is the bathroom? What is with women in the stinking bathroom?
House of mirrors.
It is. It's all about the mirror. Yeah, you're going in there to pee or whatever, but like really you're going in there to look at yourself and make sure you look okay. Come on, let's be real. Okay? It is. It's vanity. You're going in there for the vanity.
They call them a vanity.
Literally.
Like in your house.
Yes.
It's called a vanity. Like, it's called a vanity.
I turned to Nate.
Are you kidding me?
I turned to Nate one day in the RV, and he was like, "Oh, where's the hairbrush?" And I said, "Oh, honey, it's up in the vanity." And he's like, "The what?" And I was like, "Oh, the vanity. The open the door. That's the vanity. It's where all the vanity."
I was like, "Stinking smash this thing! What the heck are we doing with this in our house?"
Vanity. That's what it's called. Okay, so anyway.
Sorry.
I go in the bathroom, like I said, to just look at myself and be like, oh, do I look okay? I'm really feeling insecure because I'm seeing all these girls just dolled up to
all these masks.
nines. They're dolled up to the nines. They're like just rocking their new dress that they bought specifically for the wedding. They're in high heels. Their legs are shaved.
It's a whole other piece.
Their legs are shaved. Their mask is on, their hair is done up. I mean, they're looking like they're going out, and I'm literally in the bathroom. I go to the bathroom. I really go into the bathroom because I have to pee, because while you're breastfeeding, you drink a crazy amount of water.
That's why all our water bottles are
That's why I keep drinking water. Crazy amount of water. So anyway, I'm in the bathroom, and I walk out, and I was like, well, there's nothing really to, in my mind, I'm like, there's nothing really to see. I'm not wearing makeup. I don't need to check anything, and I'm washing my hands, and I look up, and I just see these girls, like, on both sides of me, and they're just primping in the mirror, and they're in there for a long time. Like, I had gone in there, went pee, washed my hands, and walked out before them. They were still there and in front of the mirror, and I was like, it's vanity. And so I walk out, and I end up running into a gal that I hadn't seen in a long time, that I actually knew when Nathan and I were first dating, when we first met in the college ministry that we were a part of. And I hadn't seen her for a while, and we'd been friends on Facebook, and I always was, I'm always deep down trying to be a matchmaker or like hopeful that like if I meet a really amazing person, I'm hopeful that they'll find their spouse, because I just want to see them happy, and I just want to see them find that perfect person that Yah has set apart for them. So anyway, I saw her, and I knew from just being friends with her on Facebook that she had found that person and that she had gotten married, and she seemed so happy, and I hadn't seen her since she had been married. And so, I run up to her, and her husband isn't with her, and I run up to her, and I'm so excited to see her. I give her a big hug, and I'm like, oh my gosh, tell me about this man of yours. Like, I saw you got married. You guys look like you're the perfect match. Like, I can't wait to meet him. Like, I'm just so overjoyed to talk to her. And she's like silent. And she gets really quiet. And I look at her eyes, and her eyes start to just well up with tears. And I was like, oh, okay. Whoa, maybe I said too much here. And I just paused, and I just was looking at her, and she tells me, she said, I've been widowed. I'm a widow. And she just starts crying. And I just felt horrible in that moment. And I just started bawling. I just started bawling and weeping. And I just hugged her. And I just was like, oh my gosh, like so grieved for her in that moment. And she's trying to tell me a little bit about what happened. And all the while she's kind of like wiping her eyes, like trying to not get her makeup running, you know, like she's trying to not have makeup running down her face. And she's trying to tell me this, and I'm just bawling with her. And I'm like, I am so sorry. This is horrible. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry you went through this. I'm so sorry you had to experience this. And I'm just crying with her. And she's like, oh, we need to stop crying. She's like, you gotta stop crying. You're making me cry. And like, my makeup is running. She literally said that. And I was like, whoa, it like hit me. And I was like, for the first time in my life, after wearing makeup, I was free to cry. I was free. I was free. And it felt amazing. I was free. I didn't have to worry about my mask running down my face or being ashamed that I might have makeup or have to go in the bathroom and to check or be wiping my eyes and then being like, oh, I've ruined my makeup. Now I'm going to look horrible the whole rest of the time. All of these insecurities, all of the shame, having to stifle my emotions, having to hold back the tears. For the first time ever, I was free. I was free. Free of that, a big part of that stronghold that had held me so tight. And I realized right then and there that makeup is bondage. And that is slavery, you guys.
That's misery.
Yes. And I was like, wow, for the first time ever, I was free to weep with those who weep. I was free to weep. And even she was not free to weep because of the makeup. And of anyone who needed to weep, she needed to weep. Vanity, you guys. It's gotta die. It's bad. So after that, there was another moment. Yet another moment. I still was wearing pencil eyebrows and occasionally still wearing some powder on my face if I felt like I had circles under my eyes or the bags under my eyes still.
Because you don't sleep.
Bags under my eyes because I do not sleep. And I'm a co-sleeping mom too. So I breastfeed through the night and
don't cry it out.
You just do not sleep. Yeah, we do not cry it out. So anyway, the next time we had gone to, I think we had a conference in Las Vegas, of all places. I know, you guys.
Setting you up.
Setting me up. Yep. And I'm walking around Vegas, the lights, the people, once again, everyone's all up. The masquerade is on thick. And everyone is playing their part and wearing their masks and looking good. And I'm walking around the streets of Vegas trying to be makeup free. And feeling it, you guys. Feeling the peer pressure. Spiritual. That fear of men is creeping in. And it's an oppression. It just came over me. And while I was there, even, I remember feeling so tempted to just put a little bit on, like put just a little bit on. And I will just admit this to you guys. While I was there, one time when I went out to dinner, I put on the tiniest little bit of mascara. I know you're probably asking, Chelsea, why didn't you just throw it out? It's like an addict, you guys. This is like an addiction, okay? I literally was like, I'll just keep my bottles of alcohol right over here, and I just want to look at them. I just want to pull them out and touch them sometimes, but I'm not gonna drink them. They're just gonna sit right there. It's okay. I'm getting sober. Anyway, it was like this, you guys. It's so sad. It's so sad, but I'm just telling you this to just be real and authentic with you guys. So I did. It was still in my makeup case, and I snuck a little bit on, and oh, I felt so guilty. The whole time, you guys, I felt so guilty. I got home, and I immediately washed it off. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is not who I am. This isn't even who I want to be. It's literally that peer pressure just crept in and took a hold of me. And so anyway, that was one of the last times that I was kind of really wrestling with it. And then, but still, like I said, so then I finally got rid of the eye pencil. And at this point too, I think I had finally thrown out the mascara after that. I had finally thrown it out. I threw out the eyeliner. I threw out the eye pencils, threw out the lipstick. I started feeling convicted about the lipstick, threw out the lipstick, all this stuff. And the last thing to go was literally this last summer. This last summer, over the feast of Shavuot, Pentecost. And it's literally the morning of Pentecost. And I wake up and I'm excited to celebrate the feast of the Lord. I'm excited to mikvah and do a little just recommitment of our covenant with him, a little baptism in memorial of that, in representation of that. And I'm standing in front of the mirror. And at this point, I was still occasionally putting on some foundation, like some just powder. It was just powder. It wasn't even like cover up or whatever, or like the thicker foundation. It was just powder. It was just a little dusting. I would just get up in the morning and just a little dust. It would just help me not feel quite so tired.
You can mill your own grain and get dust all the time on your face.
Flour, guys. Just a little dust. You know? Olive oil. Woo, woo, woo.
Biblical.
So anyway, I'm staring at the mirror and I just felt like, yeah, it's just like, it's time. It's time. The powder's gotta go. And I'm like, all right, I want to recommit myself to you. I want to recommit myself to you and be in covenant with you and walk the way that you want me to walk. And do the things that you've called me to do. And I know you've called me to give up this stronghold in my life. And I know you want to set me free for good of it. And so I took my powder and my brush and I threw it in the trash and went out and got baptized in the river. And when I came up out of that river, it was like all that vanity just washed down the stream with it. And I just was so liberated and grateful. And it's freedom, you guys. It's true freedom. I feel the most like myself and the most authentic. And I guess comfortable. I feel comfortable in my own skin. Because this is the skin, this is the face, these are the eyes, these are the eyelashes, this is the nose. This is the hair that Yahuwah gave me. This is how he made me. And I'm beautiful. I'm beautiful, and I am so grateful to be alive, and I am grateful that he knit me together in my mother's womb. And it says, charm is deceitful, beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. And that's in Proverbs 31:30, you guys.
Proverbs 31.
Yeah, it is. It's the journey to becoming the Proverbs 31 woman. And it is a journey. It is. It's the journey, you guys. And I tell you my testimony today to encourage you that you can do it. You can walk away from that slavery. You can walk away from that bondage. Even if you are a hairstylist, even if you are in the industry, even if you are a model, you guys, you can walk away. If you are just a mom, you can walk away. If you are a business professional, you can walk away. If you are a news anchor, you can walk away. You can walk away from that bondage, you guys. He's calling us out. He's calling you out. And you need to get in his word and let his word wash the vanity down the river. And I just wanted to share this today. And I hope it encourages you, and to know that it is not easy. Giving up anything, you guys, that has its deep roots in us. You know, sometimes we have to just rip it out. But sometimes it's like a weed, you guys. You go to rip the weed out, and you're like, ha, I got you. And you go to rip the weed out, and it breaks off. It snaps off. And then you got to get out the shovel, and you're digging it up, and then another piece of the root breaks off. And then you got to get a bigger shovel, and you got to dig that sucker out. And sometimes it takes years, you guys. And I feel like that's what vanity was for me. It took years. And I still, because vanity is so big, and it is so pervasive. Its tendrils, its roots, you guys, go down deep, nations. And it goes everywhere. And it goes into so many layers. Vanity, in the sense of our bodies. The gymnasium, you guys, it's full of mirrors.
The house of mirrors when you go to the gym.
The idol of vanity, the idol of fitness, and your physical physique.
Self-worship.
Yep, vanity, guys. There's vanity all over. There's vanity in the fear of men and not wanting to
look the fool.
Look the fool.
Be inarticulate. Be thought to not be able to know what you're talking about. Being able to not read. Be not able to write. Be not able to communicate with other people.
Not having a clean house.
Not having the right job. Not having not being a working person in the same way. Men not being in the proper kind of working career field as you're supposed to be. Men's jobs tend to be an area where it's vanity as to why we're subjecting ourselves to a system of slavery. The people of Israel became slaves in Egypt. All of them, right? But there was some people who did not do that. Moses' mom is like a flash in the story, because the king's commandment was that the men were being subjected to this slavery, like this level of work that was so excessive and so brutal that yet the more they afflicted the Israelites, the more they prospered and grew. And so they're like, let's start to kill off the babies of all the male children that are going to be born. But these women, these moms, were giving birth, and not with the assistance of the midwives. They had vigor in them. And Moses' mom gave birth to her child, ignored the king's command, the Pharaoh's commandment, and hid her child away. She did not care. No, it's not that. She cared so much to protect her child and preserve her child, and was willing to sacrifice her life for the sake of her child to be given the opportunity to live. It is the exact opposite of the systems of Egypt, where you sacrifice your children so you can have your career, so that you can have your job, so you can have your body. That is the system of misery. That's the house of bondage. And he sent his angel to bring us out. He sent his messenger. He sent his righteous king. He sent the word that became flesh to draw us out, to cross us over that unfathomable place of death, to let that wash us with the waters of renewing, so we could be transformed into who he is. The instructions of our Father, the words of our Father, are to take us from who we are to make us to be like him. My wife and I are on that process. We want to share with you things that we have noticed now, since many of those scales have come off our eyes. And even daily, we start to realize, wow, we still have so much of that still in us. You know what? We can fall prey to the snare of the devil. And we try to share this sword with you so that Father, and by his power of his Holy Spirit, his set apart spirit, he can cut those snares off of you.
That's right.
And you can be set free, because where the Spirit of Yahweh is, there is freedom, there is liberty, there is life. And we want you guys to be set free. And we
That's
want
right.
you to set your children free, so that your daughters aren't raised up being pressed in with this image of lies and vanity. We don't want you to conform your children to the vanity mirror. We want you to conform them to the image of their Father in heaven. We love you guys so much. We look forward to sharing with you many more lessons on this journey here as we go forward.